mighty name. What a mighty, mighty name. Big Mom used to say there's power in the name of Jesus. Amen. There's a whole lot of other names you can call on. But when you call on the name of Jesus, things begin to happen. Things begin to go into motion. You can speak to things that are not as if they already are. Hallelujah. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers in the house. Every father figure, mentor, grandfather, uncle. If you've been a male role model to some young man, young woman, happy Father's Day to you today. You know, you don't have to have biological children. Amen. To impact someone's life. Hallelujah. We thank God for fathers today. Thank Him for His daily provision, because you don't know it's hard being a father. It's hard being a father. And not only is it difficult, but Satan is on attack to remove fathers. He's on attack to remove fathers. Telling somebody, I said, mothers are awesome. Hallelujah. They are. We love them dearly. But the role of a father in the life of a child, male or female, a mother alone cannot replace. She can't teach that young man how to be a man. And she can't teach that young lady how a man is supposed to love her. Why do you think the devil's after fathers? Remove the father. Both the kids can be impacted. No matter if they're male or female. Amen. Amen. So thank God to all of you out there who stepped up. And I want to say this as well. Just because you made a baby don't make you a father. I was talking to a young man that I used to coach. And I told him being able to grow a beard and make a baby don't make you a man. Don't make you a man. Father takes care of business. A father takes care of his responsibilities. Father provides and protects. And a father is there. A father is there. You know you can give your child everything they want in the world. But if you ain't never there, it don't mean nothing. It don't mean nothing. So those who had to step up, who had to be there, who had to, knowing you had to endure a lot, we salute you and we celebrate you today. In the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus the Christ. Turn with me to the book of 1 Kings. Turn with me to the book of 1 Kings, chapter 19. Book of 1 Kings, chapter 19. I want to begin at verse 10. don't necessarily have a Father's Day message. I got an everybody message. Well, I said what I said to start with, get that out the way. That's all I got for Father's today. Specifically. Amen. But I really want to thank again all of those who participated, were here, and those that served and operated in our Vacation Bible School this past week. Amen. We had a good time each and every night. We had 3 souls that gave their life to Christ and God and church. Amen. Amen. And we just thank God, and I thank you with the love of Christ for your diligence, your commitment, your dedication, all those who were involved in making it a successful week. Amen. Amen. 1 Kings chapter 19, beginning at verse 10. The scripture reads, "And he said, I have been very jealous for the Lord God of hosts. For the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thine altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword. And I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away. And he said, Go forth and stand upon the mount before the Lord. And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind rent the mountains and broke in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice. And it was so, when Elijah heard it, that he wrapped his face in his mantle and went out and stood in the entering in of the cave. And behold, there came a voice unto him and said, What doest thou here, Elijah? Amen. Amen.
All right, preacher. All right.
I want you to ask somebody, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you wasting time? Why are you wasting time? Why are you wasting gifts? Why are you wasting talents? Wasting resources? What are you doing here? I don't know who I'm talking to this morning or where you may be in your life, but I know that there's somebody here, you've been stuck a long time. You've been stuck a long time, and you keep telling other people, you keep telling them, I'm waiting on the Lord to move. I'm waiting on the Lord to tell me to move. I'm waiting on him to make a way for me. I'm going to stand still. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stand still. So I can see the salvation of the Lord. But see, the thing is, the Lord said, what are you doing here?
Yes, Lord.
Why are you still in that place? Matter of fact, what made you come here in the first place? How quickly can life turn, can it?
Yes, sir.
Look who we dealing with in the text. We are dealing with the prophet Elijah. One of the great prophets, one of the major prophets. And Elijah is in this cave on the side of Mount Horeb, the Mount of God. But just in the previous chapter, Elijah was on top of Mount Carmel. Slayed 50 prophets of Baal. Fire rained down from heaven and consumed the sacrifices. And then he called and prayed for rain to come and end a drought that was in the land for 3 years.
That's right.
You would think Elijah would be on the mountaintop.
Thank you, Lord.
But then a message gets to him that old Jezebel is upset with what he's doing in the land. And then all of a sudden, this big major prophet, this preacher, this man of God, God has used to do some miraculous work for the kingdom, is all of a sudden tuck-tailing high. You mean to tell me you prayed and God rained down fire from heaven and you running from a woman?
Yeah. Say that.
I'm sorry for some of y'all sexist folk in the house. And you running from a single man? If that make you feel better. You just rained down. I can't tell what I'll say. Just reading that from the text. I'm not 100% sure. If it was because of what, I can't tell what I'll say. Just reading that from the fire at Mount Horeb with Moses, and he wanted to go there and somehow benefit from being on holy ground, or what was considered holy ground, and increase his faith. I don't know if he felt safe there. You know, he was like, hey, ain't nothing but heathens left. Surely they're not going to come here. You know, a lot of folks who don't belong to God don't like to go where God's people are. Or where they think God is going to be. They ain't showing up. He may have felt safe there, or perhaps he was just going to his quiet place. Any of you all have that? I got a quiet place I like to retreat to sometimes, where I can't be bothered and know it's not easily accessible for some folk to get to me. When you got to turn the phone off, lock the door. Remember where I used to live? I used to go into the woods. Folk ain't coming in the woods. I saw a park at night, just so I don't be disturbed. So maybe he needed his quiet place, and he was expecting God to meet him there. I'm not sure, but whatever the reason Elijah had for dwelling in that cave, the question that came from God directly implies that it was not proper for Elijah to be where he was.
Yeah.
I wonder if God is asking you today, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? Why are you still at that job? Why are you still with that man? Why are you still with that woman? Why are you still at that church? Why are you still going to the places where you go and socialize? Why are you still working in that ministry when I've elevated you to this ministry? What are you still doing right here? Because he was saying that you are not supposed to be where you currently are. He said, I've ordained you a prophet, Elijah. I've ordained you a prophet among men, and here you are in a wilderness state in this mountain, in a cave, secluded and shut off from the rest of the world. What good are you to me in this cave? What kind of use can I get out of you? I I've given you a mouthpiece. And not only have I given you a mouthpiece, but I've imparted some word in you. Just as I had Ezekiel eat the scroll, I put my word in your heart. And he said, my expectation is for you to be going out and planting seed everywhere I send you. What good use can I get out of you? Right here. And see, some of y'all wanted you talking about why can't you move and get on in the rest of your life and get on to some other places in your life. Maybe it's because you're not using what you have.
All right, Elder. Amen. Yes, sir.
It's because you ain't using what God imparted in you. God has deposited some gifts in you. And some of you, God has deposited some great things. And you just sitting on your blessed assurance and using it for all the wrong reasons and think it's for your own selfish gain. And then you want to ask God, why am I still where I'm at? You said, what are you doing here in this cave? You a preacher. Ain't nobody here for you to preach to. You can only speak to the rocks if I order you to speak to the rocks. But I've sent you as a prophet among men. Ain't nobody for you to teach in here. Ain't nobody for you to spread what I've departed to you in here. You need to know you cannot run from your problems. You can't run from your problems. Where you going? Where you going? Because the thing is, I can speak from experience. For one, problems catch up with you. They catch up with you. In other words, they follow you. They follow you. And see, really, when they following you like that, you need to really look around and evaluate yourself, because maybe the problem.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But not only do they follow you, but problems, when you return, they remain. They remain. They're still there. You still got to deal with them. You still got to face them. Some of us think that just because some folk have died on and gone on, that the problem no longer exists. No, because you still ain't dealt with the problem yourself. Your problems are not an excuse to forsake what God has imparted to you for service. Your problems are not an excuse for you not to do what God has called you to do. You think God is that concerned about your feelings? Because somebody hurt your feelings? Stepped on your toes? God said, what did I tell you to do? Look at the problem. Look at the problem that Elijah is dealing with. Look at the excuse that he gives. Matter of fact, tell somebody to get over yourself. Get over yourself. Everybody got problems. Everybody got some issues. Everybody got some hang-ups. Everybody got a past. Everybody got some skeletons in their closet. Quit crying. Quit crying. You wonder why I don't like God no more? Because you always cry. I got my own stuff to deal with. I ain't got to hear your stuff every time I talk to you. See, I'm sorry. You don't want to say that. I'll say it for you. Ain't got time for all that all the time. You ain't the only one living life. Put your big boy drawers on. That time to be wiping noses and wiping behinds like you some baby. Pick yourself up. You're a child of the King. Look at the excuse Elijah gives in verse 10. He said, I have been very jealous for you, O God. But these children of Israel, they forsaken your covenant. They've thrown down your altars and slain your prophets by the sword, and now I am even alone. And it's not me, it's them. He said, it's not me. I love you. I honor you. I worship you. I do the best I can to serve you. Oh, but these people you got me dealing with. Lord, have mercy. Preach, Holy Spirit. I just can't take that. I can't take that. And you done sit me as a sheep among wolves. And they vicious. I know I'm in the house really good this morning. But they vicious. Elijah said it ain't me. It's everybody else. Look at them. They're the ones that's turned away from you. They the ones who don't worship you. They the ones who broken their covenant. Yeah, they been baptized. Yeah, they been circumcised. Yeah, they been in the temple. Lord, but they still act like heathens. They only act like that when we come together in here. They only look like Israel when we come together in here. But when I'm out there, they treat me like a low-down dirty dog. As soon as the benediction is over, they ready to cuss me out. I just want to know. It ain't me, oh Lord, it's them. It's them. And yet you expect me to keep on working. Yet you expect me to keep on walking with my head up high and to preach and to prophesy and to teach a people who don't want to be taught. You want me to minister to a people and teach being reformed and reformation and regeneration, but they don't want to be regenerated. They're enjoying their reprobate ways. He said, I didn't quit. I didn't quit working because I lost zeal for you. That ain't why I did it. That ain't why I took off and ran and hid myself. I asked you to kill me when I was sitting under that tree, but you wouldn't do it. I told you I didn't want to live no more. I told you I was done. I told you I was tired. I couldn't kill myself, but I asked you to. And since you didn't do it, since you came and fed me when I was trying to starve to death, you even sent food. Food just showed up and water just started flowing out of nowhere. And since you wouldn't kill me like I needed and wanted you to, I figured I'd run to where nobody else would come and find me. He said, but I didn't quit because I lost a zeal for you. But look at how sinful those people become. They've forsaken you. And since they have forsaken you, I have forsaken them. I remember when in Romans chapter 11, in verses 2 and 3, when Paul referred back to this moment, when he stated that Elijah had made intercession against Israel, where before he had been their advocate. Now he was trying to stir up God's indignation with them. Stir up God's anger against them. In hopes that God would inflict judgment upon them. Ain't that crazy? Ain't that something? Some people who you was for, or you would be willing to step in for, when all of a sudden you figure out that they're not for you, instead of praying for them, you're praying on them. Instead of praying to lift them up, you're praying against them, bring them down. Help me, Holy Spirit. See, the thing is, when you're praying for your enemies, you're praying that God take care of your enemies, but not in the way that... See, because really what you want God to do is you want God to hurt them the way they hurt you. That's really what you want. You don't want God to bless them. You don't want God to change their mind. You don't want God to increase them because you have figured they're not for you, so therefore I'm not going to be for them. So here Elijah was, is he was saying, Lord, these people, it's because you need to do something about them. I'm sitting here now and I'm all alone. And so he says, why should I keep doing? Why should I keep on pressing forward towards the mark of the high calling of God? It's rough down here. It's hard down here. My flesh can only take so much. See, you know, he kind of goes into his little pity party now, y'all. And he says, I only am left. There's no one around to support me. There's no one to agree with me. There's no one that I can lean on. There's no one that's willing to post me up when I get tired along the way. So why should I keep on pressing? Where is the purpose in my journey? What is the point to keep showing up Sunday after Sunday, week after week, month after month, and I'm the only one in here? What point is there for me to keep on walking, to keep on running, keep on praying, keep on teaching, keep on trying? What point is there if there's no one to listen? If there's no one to hold me up? If there's no one to support me? If there's nobody that I can call on for the companionship I need on this race? What's the point? What's the point? I might as well just sit on here in this cave and wither and die. And then, you know how folk like to do when they got a pity party going on, they like to pour home. In other words, everybody you sending me to is against me. How do you keep walking? How do you keep on playing? Sister Ethel, how do you keep on praying? Deacon, how do you keep on witnessing?
Glory. Hallelujah.
Brother LaRue, how do you keep on speaking into people's lives? How do you do it?
Yes.
When they out to destroy you.
Yes. Glory.
Child of God, what you need to know
Thank you, Lord. Thank you.
is that this race ain't for you.
That's right.
See, before God claimed you for himself, you was running your own race. But when God claims you, when God put his name on you, when God poured the redeeming blood of his son over your head, you was no longer running for yourself. But you are now running a race for Christ. And in this race, Jesus gave you forewarning. He said, now, I done prayed to my Father that he protects you from the evil of this world. But child of God, know that they're going to hate you. Know that they're going to come against you because they hated me. In other words, he was letting you know if they're not coming against you, then you're not running my race. Help me, Holy Spirit. If they're not standing up against you, you must be on their side. If they're not causing some friction and causing some turmoil a little bit along the way to keep you balanced in your life, then you just might be on the wrong team. Let me go home. Some of y'all family too hard. So after all that, after Elijah gives his excuse on the backs of everybody else, instead of looking at himself, let's see how God responds. He tells us, beginning in verse, he said, go forth and stand upon the mount before the Lord, and behold, the Lord passed by.
Yes, Lord.
It's reminiscent of the time when, in Exodus chapter 33, when God told Moses when he was on the mount to go into the cave because the Lord was getting ready to pass by.
Yeah.
And he told him he would cover him inside the cave
Yeah.
because he couldn't see his face and live.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you.
But here he's telling Elijah to come to the mouth
Yes.
of the cave. Not go inside of it, but I need you to come to the entrance of it.
Right.
Stand there before the Lord. And he said, and behold, the Lord passed by, and a great wind rent the mountains and broke it into pieces, the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind, and after the wind, an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake, and after the earthquake, a fire. And the Lord was not in the fire. So if it wasn't the Lord in the wind,
Come on, brother. I give you that.
if it wasn't the Lord in the earthquake,
Yeah, Lord.
Yeah.
Oh,
and if it wasn't the Lord in the fire,
yeah, Lord.
then what was it?
Come on.
If it wasn't God, then what was going on? See, you got to remember. That's why it's good for you to know Bible. But you got to remember that God, oftentimes before God appears himself, he always sends messengers before him. He always sends something or someone to pave the way for his arrival. See, it's just like when we hear in worship. See, all the devotion, the praise team and the choir coming to sing and all of those things, that ain't for your entertainment. But what that is to pave the way. That is to till the ground. That is to prepare your mind, to prepare your heart to receive what thus saith the Lord. I remember I had to tell somebody one time, he said, we like to have church. They like all that singing and stuff. I said, if ain't nobody preaching, ain't no church going on. You don't come here to sing. I want to know what God has to say. But God, before he shows up, he sends somebody before. You should remember when the prophet said that there will be one crying in the wilderness to pave way for the Lamb of God. Even John the Baptist had to come before Jesus came on the scene. So when Elijah was in the mountain, God sent one of his angels to come with a mighty wind and break the mountain all into pieces. God sent another angel to come in an earthquake and shake up the house of the Lord. God sent another angel in the form of a fire to show you that not only is he judgment, not only is he wrath, but God will clean you up. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. God will send his messages before he shows up on the scene. See, we always think, that's God, that's God. See, you thinking that God ain't already spoken. But God is saying, you keep ignoring the messages that I'm sending by your hand. They keep on coming by. But every time I send them, you want to say, she always saying but you're missing the messages when I bring them to you. For whatever reason, you thinking they're not from me. Because it didn't come in the form, and in the shape, with all in the little bowl. Like you was looking for it. Yes, sir. He always sends messages. These things. These things. These messengers caused Elijah to be in awe. In other words, it awakened his attention. See, God does some stuff to get your mind ready. So when he shows up, it ain't going to be in vain. Because he's already softened the ground up a little bit. Ain't God all right? Because see, God, help me, Holy Spirit, had to remind you of his power while you was worried about the people, about them trying to kill you. How you worried about someone else killing you. As if when you tried to kill yourself, I didn't allow you to be successful. Thank you, Lord. He said, did you forget that I am the Lord, strong and mighty? Did you forget that I am the Lord that's mighty in battle? He said, be not dismayed, but whatever betide, God will take care of it. And God, all right, for the battle is not yours, but it belongs to the Lord. And the last I checked, victory has already been claimed in Jesus the Christ. And I'm right about it. But the second thing he had to remind Elijah of was him, and that he prepared his mind to accept the mercy of God. See, sometimes we'll miss God's mercy, but when the wind broke the mountains, he didn't run and hide. When fire rained down, he didn't run and hide. When the earth reeled and rocked, he didn't run and hide. But when a voice came down from heaven, the Bible says that it was still, it was quiet, it was gentle, it was calm, it was peaceful. You would think that when somebody approaches you in a mild manner, you'll be able to stand there and take whatever they got to say. But the Bible says that Elijah turned his face when he heard the still quiet voice of my God. Well, Elijah, why did you turn? I believe Elijah heard the mercy of my God. Because when he saw the wind break the mountains, when he saw the earthquake, when he saw the fire, he understood that this is true. And God, all right, I got one more thing that I got to tell you, because what I see in the text, between the fire, the earthquake, and the wind, I believe they represent the law of God in the old covenant. That when God shows up and speaks in the still quiet voice, I believe that represents the truth of the gospel in grace and mercy. So what I see in text was just as the rocks break into pieces with the wind. The law of God breaks your heart into pieces. He breaks up the stone of your heart that he can give you a heart of flesh. Ain't God all right? And when I see the earthquake in the text, just like the earthquake, the law of God has got to shake up your spirit. The law of God will shake up your household. Ain't I right about it? And just like the fire on the mountain, the law of God will melt your conscience to see God in his fire. It will allow you to see what you really deserve and to not want the fury of God in your life. Oh, but I'm glad that when I get to the book of Matthew, a man named Jesus stepped on the scene, and grace and mercy stepped right on in on my behalf. And I'm glad about it. There's a sweet, sweet spirit in this place, and it must be the Spirit of the Lord that says, come unto me, all ye that labor, and I'll give you rest. For mercy smile on me. Is there anybody that's glad that mercy showed up at your house? That mercy was a voice in your ears one Friday on the hill called Calvary. Mercy went up on that old rugged cross. Mercy didn't come down. They talked about him. They spit on him. They whipped him. But mercy stayed right there. Stayed right there. Hallelujah. Ain't you glad? Ain't you glad? Aren't you glad that mercy didn't come down? But mercy gave up the ghost, went down in old Joseph's tomb. But early, got up with all power in his hand. If God can have mercy on you, you got to have mercy on your life. Some of us ain't already been taken out of here, but God is still having mercy. On you. Why can't you have some mercy on some other people? He had to remind Elijah. He said, Elijah, I know you're one of my bad boys, but you ain't that special. He said, I got 7,000 who have not bowed their knees to Baal. He said, I've still raised them up. They have not turned against me. And if you go on out and keep on running this race, you may not have nobody with you now, but you don't know who I'm sending. He said, you better get on up. What you doing here? What you doing here? You better run for Jesus. You better keep on walking for Jesus. When letting people keep you from doing what God has ordered you to do. We're letting people keep you. We're letting society hinder you. We're letting your job hold you back. You want peace of mind? You want to have joy? Unspeakable. Joy that can't be comprehended. Operating your gifts. Operating your assignment. The There's no greater joy than that. Than being used by the power of God. Not for your benefit. Forget you. What I tell you, preacher, when you stand up here behind this podium, don't nobody care about your opinions. Don't nobody care about what's going on in your life. Tell me what God said. We like you, you're cute, you're funny. We like your sense of humor, we like your character. But baby, you're not special. You're not special. Get over yourself. Elijah, get over yourself. That's how God was telling him. Son, what is wrong with you? Get over yourself. Don't you remember what I did for you the last time? Talking about these people. Don't you remember what I did the last time they talked about you? Don't you remember what I did the last time you lost your job? Don't you remember? So what you doing right here? You better keep doing what I told you to do. I don't care if only one shows up. Because for 2 or 3 of them, I'll be in the midst. Come on, brother. What are you doing here? What are you doing? Quit sitting there. It's time to get up. It's time to get up. And keep running for the Lord. Stop waiting on somebody else. Stop waiting on somebody else. Quit ignoring